Hello and welcome. I'm Face Conscious, an artist, designer, and teacher. I have my own style, which I learn and develop through experimentation. Here I am creating a line art and watercolor painting and making textures using salt. First, I will show you a few ways I like to draw water. This is how I draw waves, with simple curved lines and points at the top. I can overlap to create depth. Or I can draw rows of waves above one another. When I do this, I make sure the waves don't line up, to keep them looking dynamic, to make them look like they are moving. Under the water, you can usually find bubbles. I draw bubbles different sizes. At the bottom, they are smaller, and as I go up the page, they get bigger. This is because water pressure squashes the air, but as the bubbles rise, the pressure is less, and the air expands and looks bigger. I also include little bubbles everywhere. If there are lots of bubbles, they can be drawn overlapping. The surface of water can be smooth, but it's always moving and reflecting light. I show this by drawing smooth and curvy lines. It's good to include pockets where shapes can be drawn. The shapes are also smooth and curved, looking like blobs and sometimes circles. It looks good to fill up all the spaces, but also to keep the space between the shapes the same. When drawing your picture, you can draw your characters first and fill in the spaces with lines and shapes last. When water is in the air, it can be shown as droplets, curved at the bottom and pointed at the top, like rain. They can be straight or they can be drawn at an angle. I drew my design in pencil on watercolor paper, and I fill it in with black liner pen. In some places, I add water to the paper before adding the paint. This helps to spread the paint evenly. There is more water on my brush than pigment, so the color is soft and light. Where I want a darker tone, I add more paint to the brush and add it while the paint is still wet to make the colors look smooth and blended. I am experimenting with salt. Salt can be found in the sea and it absorbs water. I sprinkle the salt over the color while the paint is still wet. It's good to experiment yourself and see how much salt will look good to you. See how I add darker colors over light colors. In this way, layers can be built up from light to dark. I have used the color blue for the water, and now I use orange for the fish. This is a nice choice of colors, as blue and orange are opposite on the color wheel. This means they complement each other and give good contrast in the painting. Every part I want to be orange, I paint in a light orange. I mix yellow and red together to make two different shades of orange, lighter and darker. While the paint is still wet, I add darker orange and blend the colors together on the page. I found the paint was too thick, so I added some water where I want it to blend more, and use a dabbing motion on wet paint to give texture and shadow, and a way to transition the paint from dark to light. Here I finish off the painting with fish eyes. I am careful not to paint anywhere I want the painting to stay white. Again I add salt to wet paint. When I am finished, I leave the salt on until the paint is fully dry. Then I can remove the salt and see what marks and textures it has left on the painting. Here is my final painting, and you can see the marks the salt has left behind while the paint was drying. I hope you can explore and make your own. This texture can be used on any design ideas, and you can play with the salt and see what textures you can make.